Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Art Lounge Alley. I am your host, and I'm going to show you what I've been working on this past week, over the weekend, prior to me having to miss a couple of days this week to recover. I got sick, but thankfully it was just a couple of days. But yeah, this is it. This is the work that I am going to continue on. I shed the sketch layers, as you guys can see. So now it's just completely black and white pencil work. And I've just been going over some detail, and I'm still like trying to figure out whether I want to keep this floor detail or not. I feel like that could probably be that could be done with color. You know, I don't necessarily have to have as much detail over there. I feel like it might take away from parts of the drawing. I don't know. I'm still working on it. This is the period where I have to be very, very careful. I don't want to get into that like obsessive mode, you know, where every little thing is worked on for hours. But at the same time, I do want to push this to the next level. You know, I do, and this is a cool scene. Something I haven't done in a while, actually. So I want to see how far I could take it and what kind of things I could add to make it look even better. Just looking out for little details like that and making sure that I connect things to one another. And I really like how the guy in the foreground turned out. This big guy right here with the weird, funky looking device on his head. And what it's supposed to spell out is sleep. You know, it's just this message, obviously, that companies want. And of course, politicians want everybody to embrace, to just sleepwalk. You know, don't pay attention to what we're doing. Don't pay attention to how we're exploiting your life and your time away for our own amusement. So people are walking around on these devices while the devices are displaying these messages to kind of brainwash the public. So I have to still continue working on her foot here. I'll be honest, I'm like a little hesitant to do much with it because it feels like it's falling off. It's like falling out of the block that she's on. But I'm pretty happy with how things are turning out. So I pretty much combined all the layers into one now. And it's a little bit easier to work off of because I don't have to like check and be like, am I on the right layer right now? Am I jeopardizing the lines for another one? A different layer? over well, the past few days I actually been catching up to the House of Dragons, and I'm really into it. I'm really enjoying it. There's been a couple of things that I've been coming across on social media where people are talking about like how none of them have a lot of them haven't aged properly. Like there are only a couple of people who've been aging, while everybody else, like all the kids, have really been getting older quick. And I thought, well, that's pretty appropriate. That actually makes sense, because kids end up like, from all the way up from like 3-4 years old, their ages or their appearance skyrockets, just really changes drastically. Whereas people who are older, they don't change much. So I don't really see where the discrepancy is there. Of course the king is sick, so he's changing drastically, as drastically as the kids who are growing. And it could be just like a way to play on that in a way. As the old generation is slowly reaching that next stage in their life, so is the new generation. I don't know, I just didn't see what the big deal about it was. But of course it's just like, media just trying to get some sort of traction and something to have people talking about. Don't really see what the problem is there. And I am worried that Aegon is going to be an awful ruler. I mean, just from some of the things that he was already doing, he doesn't seem like the type to actually be diplomatic or try to create better relations. I think he's going to totally abuse his power. And you could kind of see that in the previous episode. So, spoiler alert, when he's at the altar, I'm going to say, or he's at the throne, and what kind of look he has when he realizes the position that he's in. So I'm not going to give too much away for those of you who haven't caught up. Pretty cool scene. I mean, politics hasn't changed much at all. It's amazing. It's like, that's kind of what I'm getting, or why I kind of like watching this show, is because you just realize, like, the way things are conducted hasn't changed much. You put power into the hands of like the few, and it instantly just goes out of control. That's why I favor governments. Like, I prefer having a government where things change frequently, because when people become accustomed to their position, it's kind of like, with doctors as well. When doctors are accustomed to their position, and they're constantly seeing patients, they're constantly hearing people complaining, and some are really bad cases or whatever else. Like, the doctor becomes desensitized. Like, they don't care as much as they should. And that's just like what happens after doing something for a really long time when it comes to that sort of stuff. And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with politics. Unless you're really good at your job. Like, I think Bernie Sanders is pretty amazing because he's been doing this for years. He's been putting out the message for people to really care, and for people to focus on the fact that, hey, your taxes are being abused. That's what you're paying taxes for, is so that they take care of you, they take care of the policies, and they make life better for everybody. It's not, if we're talking about, let's say we're talking about the Constitution, right? It doesn't say, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness only for people who look, act, and think like this, or only for people who wave this kind of flag. It's U.S. citizens. It doesn't specify any of that stuff, but for some reason, well, not some reason, we all know what that reason is. It's not emphasized as much. It should be emphasized by both. Well, one of the parties, obviously, because the other one is never going to do that. Their entire mode of operation is to lie, obfuscate, manipulate, and antagonize, and all that stuff. So to expect them to do anything or say anything right, it's a waste of time. They're not there to do their job. They're there to exploit your taxes. As in, not even help the economy, just help themselves to as much as they want. And the more they could blindside you and then point fingers at somebody else and be like, oh, it's them, they're actually not doing it, the better for them. There's only one party that's, well, I'm going to say, trying harder to actually improve the lives of the citizens. And we all know which one that is. But yeah, it's just interesting, the politics of that time. And you could see how insane it gets, where people become so obsessed with their rule and their power and legacy and all that stuff that everybody else is suffering. Like, you see the people there on the streets and they're looking awful, like missing teeth, crazy, running around, trying to figure out how they can just continue on with their life. Like, it was such a miserable period. We're just seeing the upper class, of course, like the rich people and what their life was like, but we're not really seeing what the average day of a person there is like. You get glimpses of it, like in the beginning, when you see the uncle taking her nephew, well, his nephew, or niece rather, out on the town, and the kind of people that are out and about and what they're doing and stuff. It's just mayhem. And like the show's purpose is to like empathize with like this one or that one or whatever else, but it's like really they're awful. All of them are terrible leaders because they don't really care about other people. They just care about like these rivalries and superiority and who gets to rule, and meanwhile their job of like making sure that things are sustainable and that people are actually happy to live their life. creating progress and all that stuff. Nope. Not much of that. And that's why there wasn't that much innovation at that time. Because it was very, very few people who had the opportunity to like have the education and really push themselves to develop their brains, develop their ability to think beyond just like, hey, I need to survive. You know, my teeth are falling out and I need to get some food or something. Because that's basically what people were concerning themselves with, because those in charge weren't creating better opportunities at all. Have yet to design this logo for him on his chest. I'm thinking about like what would happen with his upright base in time of like, let's say some sort of like action strikes, you know, or something happens or whatever. And I was thinking it would be pretty cool, and I would have to like design what the transformation will be like if it's like, you know, of course it's the future, so this upright base would just either it's holographic, right, like the entire thing, and maybe there's strings and certain parts are not holographic, but like let's say the body of it is just holographic, and then when he presses a button it all just compresses together and forms into like let's say where the neck of the guitar is, it forms into nunchucks. Like everything compresses into the neck of the guitar, and then the strings end up becoming like what he would use as nunchucks, and like the neck of the guitar would separate into two halves, and you could use that. I thought it would be pretty cool, like a musketeer robot with nunchucks. I think it would be pretty interesting. Can't quite see it because it's being covered, but it's a challenging perspective for the design because I can't really get much of it. It's supposed to be centered on his coat or whatever. guess something that I gotta play around with from a different angle. I still have to draw this guy a couple of times, and probably in that process I might end up changing the design on the center of his chest. But until then, I guess I'm gonna have to just stick with this for now. I mean, now that I kind of think about it, I don't know who I would consider to be like a favorite character. Like, I know that in Game of Thrones, I had a couple of them. I thought the Many-Faced God was pretty cool. The one who trained Arya, I would say he was like my favorite character out of all of them. And then, of course, what was the Lannister's name? The guy who played... Tyrion, I'm gonna say. Tyrion Lannister was my favorite. Let me just double check that, because it's a really shaky it's a shaky ground when it comes to the Lannisters. Yeah, Tyrion Lannister was my favorite one. There were several that were favorable, but whereas now, I'm probably gonna say the King. I like the King. At the same time, not really, because I feel like his choices really led to a lot of the problems that came about. But the last scene, I'm gonna say the episode before this one, before the most recent one, was a little heartbreaking, because he really did want to unite everybody, and he really did care about everybody. He wanted it to work. He wasn't totally aloof to it. It's just... yeah, I guess he just made really poor choices. And I would say, like, he could have gotten himself some better doctors. And just kept giving him milk of the poppy, and that's pretty much it. And nobody, like, you're the king, basically. You could order for any sort of doctor to come and see if they could do something about it, but it seemed like he kept using the same people while it was getting worse. It was like getting all sorts of growths, and then his face was falling off. Like, come on, man. That's like a sign. There was so many signs prior that said, hey, whatever it is that they're doing is making things worse. Get somebody else. So he wasn't a great king. He wasn't great at making the right decisions, and he kind of was like, I mean, granted he was sick, but he was like avoiding things to do, to rule, to make the decisions, and he just kind of left it up to other people to do it, while he just went around and tried to be with his family, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's tough. Like, I like the show, but it's hard for me to find a character that I actually that I liked. And I think it's just gonna come further into the episodes. And I guess the interesting thing about the choices that they made for this series is that I guess that's it. You know, it's the gray area of morality when it comes to a lot of this stuff. You know, or making it really complex so it's not as easy to just be like, yeah, it's the what was it? Was it the I'm gonna say the Starks, you know, like, oh, I'm siding with the Starks. And it was just kind of like a very obvious, like, moral ground, you know. Whereas here it's like, not so much, not the case. And it's just kind of making you, like, think about it. But I'm gonna say, you know, the king's daughter made awful choices. I mean, she's banging her uncle. That's gross. And I mean, in some ways, she turned out damaged, but I think that's because of the choices that she was left to make when she was younger. Like, they weren't choices, they were just like kind of forced on her by her father, who was like, you got to marry these people because they're gonna make us stronger as a house, you know. So she was just like, but I don't want to marry somebody I don't really care for or have no connection with. And because they had no connections, she was like, you know, having babies with somebody else that she felt a connection with, while keeping that a secret, because he would have gone apeshit finding out, like, that's not actually the babies that you were supposed to have with that person, somebody else. And I think that was the scandal, right? That was like what people were constantly talking about. Like, how does he not realize that these kids don't look anything like the father, and that she's actually you know, sleeping around or whatever else. But I think he knew. He sided with her. He was just like, fine, you know, if you're just gonna do it because of obligation, then whatever. And he just kind of kept that rouge going for her. That's my guess. It's just too obvious. And he just didn't let people create a scandal out of that by constantly denying it. And by the looks of it, it seems like it's going to be a long series, because this is just a build up. You know, this is them. I'm going to say, I don't think that they sped through the age for the sake of like ending the series quickly. You know, I think that they're just trying to warm people up to like what's to come. And I think that's kind of where the last episode left people. Like, hey, this is just the beginning. But there are big shoes to fill. I mean, I'm going to say that Game of Thrones was excellent. I mean, there was so much going on over there. To picture that, you know, there's going to be another one, and it's going to be even better than Game of Thrones. It's exciting. You know, I'm looking forward to that. I really hope that's the case, because I had great memories watching that show. But I think the most memorable scenes were Arya's adventures and what happened during her scenes and how she met like those knights. That really stuck out. The knight that the knight and the priest, the knight with like the flaming sword, and the priest who brought people back from the dead. I thought that was very cool. And then when she met Dog, and their time together and all that was pretty cool. The challenge of the Wacom tablet. I am pretty excited about Apple's new the Apple Pencil. The second generation Apple Pencil is actually pretty great. I got the first generation one, but when I was researching like the new iPad and what were the features on there, the M1 chip sounds pretty cool. I mean, I'm still amazed at the capability of a chip and what it's able to do. I mean, just to remember back in the day with like CRT monitors and like what was required in order for that to work properly and all that stuff, to think that now it's these tiny little chips that are doing things that entire computers were doing back in the day. It's just amazing where technology is going. But the new Apple Pencil, or the second generation, I don't think it's new, it's been around for a bit. I like that it just charges by attaching itself magnetically to the iPad. You don't even have to do anything to charge it. And I'm kind of thinking about it because I'm like, it's like a Cintiq, really. It's like a really powerful Cintiq. anything. You can't even own anything. You can't play anything offline even. It seems like more and more companies are switching over to just having everything digital, having everything over the internet. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna give that up. I'd rather own like a Super Nintendo or something and play games offline, and enjoy myself without having to think like, oh, there's a company that's gonna creep up and collect this sort of thing, get this sort of data, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's important that people think about that, just how much they're willing to give to all these companies for absolutely nothing, and for them to realize like, hey, we could just keep on like doing all this stuff. We could get even more obtrusive about it, because look at how much horrible stuff we've done and nobody's actually batted an eye or really protested our actions. Like, let's get more data from them. Let's do this. Let's raise the price on so-and-so. Are they going to go and do something else? Like, perfect example, Instagram, awful. Like Meta, awful. But people are using both of those, like Instagram and Facebook, all the time. And more companies are jumping on top of it. So like companies that don't share the same values as Meta and its owners and stuff. And, who knows what kind of stuff that they're contributing to, what kind of campaigns that they're contributing to, because they're not in favor of democratic policies. The only thing I think that they're watching out for is their customers. So if people are going to start to feel like, hey, this company is really screwing us over, they don't want to risk losing all that. And as they should. It's exactly how they should feel about it. But behind closed doors, who knows what kind of contributions that they're making, what sort of policies they're backing. And I still maintain that we need different social media platforms that align with more democratic and progressive and Green Party values. So it's really going to make these other companies think twice about what they're doing, because they're going to there's going to be a platform that's going to compete. And if they do things awful, terrible things to the economy, to the people, to the customers, just really not caring about how they treat the customers, then people are just going to be like, you know what, I'm just going to switch over to this app. And that's why there's like all this monopoly and buyout, because they don't want that. They want to have more say and more sway. Monopolies always create problems. The only people that benefit from them are the ones who own the companies. The people don't benefit from any of that. Still feel like there's a lot more to do, But I also just wanted to show you guys I added some cars more towards the top left corner. It just seemed kind of weird that, you know, there's so many cars in the top right and nothing going on in the top left. And that kind of helped add more character to the drawing. But there's certain places that I still feel like are a little empty, like in the space between. You know, I should probably just draw a building of some sort. To fill up that space, but I'm not really sure what kind of building it should be. Or if it just be implications of a building, like something like that. Out in the distance. I'm okay with that, actually. And with this nice soft music playing in the background, it makes it easier to break it to you guys that, unfortunately, I gotta end the stream. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is a blast as always. Unfortunately, I didn't get to work as much on this piece throughout the week, but I'm gonna be back next week. Don't worry. I am gonna have more time to work on it then, and bring it closer and closer to the next stage. If you guys do enjoy the content, remember to please hit the like and subscribe button. They both help the stream grow and reach out to a wider audience. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. I will see you next week.